From the heart of the Space City to the heart of Gen Z, welcome to Next Gen Conversation. Not Dad's Talk Radio. Ethan talks to you about the issues and events that matter to our generation. This is the Next Gen Report with Ethan Buchanan.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Next Gen Report. It's a pleasure to be back with you wherever you're hearing the sound of my voice. I am super happy to be in your radio right now. If you're in San Antonio listening on 1200 WOAI, good to be with you. If you're in Dallas on 1190 KFXR, it's good to be with you. If you're here in my hometown, H-Town, on AM 950 KPRC, good evening. It is a pleasure to be with you. And if you're listening online, you're not listening to the live broadcast, you're watching the video recording. I'm so happy that you took the time to check out the video recording, watch some of the visual elements. I put a lot of effort into the visuals, which is kind of funny because this is a radio show, so it doesn't make much sense to do that, but I like things to look nice, even if it's just going up on my X. If you're not following me on X, go do so real quick, @_Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan. Unless you're driving, wait till you get home, then do it. Don't get on your phone and look at Twitter while you're driving. That's not a good idea. When you do get home, one thing I want to also ask you to do, if you enjoy the show, maybe you're a longtime listener, you've heard me for the last several months here on whatever station you happen to be tuned in, I want to ask you to go support the folks that make this show possible, and that is my sponsor, Deus Volt Lapel Pins. This guy has fantastic lapel pins, first of all. And listen, maybe you don't think a lot about lapel pins, but if you wear a suit jacket ever, you should have a lapel pin on it. It just looks so much better. And these are about $6 a pop. So you can get fantastic high quality pieces that have a lot of meaning behind them, historical meaning, religious meaning, whatever your thing is. Maybe you're big into American history, Texas history, the history of the Christian church, whatever denomination you are, there is a pin for you. There is also neckties on this website, by the way, guys. I know most people don't wear lapel pins. Almost everybody at some point or another wears a necktie. Check out their necktie collection. It is fantastic. They've also got bumper stickers for your car. I believe they're going to have a couple of flag designs too that they'll have here in the next couple of weeks or months that you'll be able to order. All sorts of stuff there. It's all religious-based, history-based. It's fantastic stuff. You should check it out. It's a great way to celebrate our 250th anniversary as a free and independent nation, and that's what I want to talk about here for a minute. I have got to be honest with y'all. So far, I am somewhat disappointed in the America 250 celebrations, and maybe that's just because we haven't quite ramped up all the way yet. I mean, obviously the big stuff is going to be the July 4th stuff. That's when we're going to go all out, right? But beyond that, I feel like we should be putting more effort into this entire year, and I haven't really seen it so far. But again, we're still ramping up. I will say some of the stuff I've seen this year already has been fairly disappointing. There was supposed to be, and I believe there still will be, this big national state fair to celebrate the 250th anniversary. And there was supposed to be a big concert lineup for that. And we got the lineup, and let me be honest, it's pretty terrible. It's pretty terrible. So here's the lineup that was released earlier this week at kind of the beginning of the week. Martina McBride, Young MC, CNC Music Factory, The Commodores, Milli Vanilli, Vanilla Ice, Morris Day and The Time, Flo Rida, and Bret Michaels. Now, maybe this is just a factor of the fact that I'm in my 20s, but the only two names I recognized on this list were Vanilla Ice and Flo Rida. And from what I understand, all of these guys were kind of mid-tier acts in the 90s. So why in the world were they considered to be headliners for what should be the celebration of the absolute best of the best of 250 years of American music? I mean, there is a lot of culture in American music. I mean, so much of American identity is tied into some of the different regional sounds that we have. I mean, if you're in Appalachia bluegrass, if you're in the South Country, And even to a certain extent, things like hip hop, I will allow that even. But I mean, these are nobodies. Every act should be acts that stand the test of time, and not just as a meme, but because these are amazing acts. Like, this concert lineup should have been Elvis tributes, like the very best of classical American folk songs, bluegrass type stuff, even some like legendary rock acts. What is all this? Vanilla Ice, sure, he stood the test of time, but only because he's a meme. And that's what we're doing for America 250? We can do better. We should do better. I mean, this should be like a national football game that's just bananas. I don't even know how you do that. But, I mean, pick the two best teams from wherever and just have them go at it again in a mini Super Bowl or what have you. And have a big baseball tournament. And, you know, we could be doing so much more year-round for America 250. And I don't know, it just feels like so far we're kind of dropping the ball. Thankfully, I think an opportunity has come to at least amend the concert lineup. From what I understand, almost all of those acts except Flo Rida and Vanilla Ice have backed out of doing this concert. Newsmax reported that 2 of the 9 artists who were announced as headliners for a concert series celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States have publicly backed out of the event a day after the lineup was released. The committee in charge of the shows announced the performers scheduled to take the stage in Washington between June 25th and July 10th, listing a bevy of performers who hadn't had a hit in decades, la-di-da-di-da. And basically, most of these folks came out and said, this is like a Trump event, and I don't want to be involved with this because I don't like Donald Trump. Now, a lot of people are upset with them for that. A lot of folks are going out there and saying, oh, it doesn't matter whether or not you like Trump. This is celebrating the United States of America, so you're unpatriotic for backing out. I don't care what their excuse for backing out was. I'm glad they backed out. I do not want the exhibition of the best of 250 years of American music to be a bunch of D-tier celebrities from the 90s. That's embarrassing to me. Thank God they backed out. Now we have an opportunity to actually compile some of the very best of American music culture and celebrate 250 years of Americans making fantastic music. Fantastic music. All right, we got a lot more to talk about. We'll be right back after this quick ad break. Alrighty, real quick, before we move on and talk about some of the good things that are happening for America's 250th anniversary, I don't want you to think that it's all bad. We're not blowing it entirely. There is a lot of great stuff that is happening all around the country to celebrate the 250 years of American greatness, American dominance, American liberty, and that is fantastic. What I want to encourage you to do is actually go look around your local area. If you're in San Antonio, see what's happening in San Antonio to celebrate 250 years of America. If you're in Dallas, see what's happening in Dallas. Here in Houston, I know we've got a lot of stuff going on. Look at the local things going on. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of big national stuff, but I think we should use the 250th anniversary of the United States as an opportunity to get back to locality. We've become a little bit too nationalistic when it comes to, just how we perceive the nation. And what I mean by that is, we almost ignore local events, local politics, statewide events in politics. The stuff that should matter the most to you is the things that are happening in your local area. So dial back into that a little bit. Maybe that's my personal challenge to you, my listeners, for America's 250th anniversary. Real quick, I do want to say, Vanilla Ice actually had a really good take on all of this controversy. He was asked about this by TMZ, who all of the sudden this year has actually started doing some decent work, which is shocking to me. But here is Vanilla Ice talking about his decision to continue to stay in the lineup for America 250. Now, I stand by the fact that he probably shouldn't have been on it. I don't think he's earned it. But I will say, he had a good take here. Take a listen.
So what do you think about this? That, it's a birthday party, and now it just feels super political.
Oh man, I'm not gonna get dragged into that. I'm here to party with America, man. Music is made to bring people together, and that's what we're here to do, man. We're just gonna represent the '90s. I don't take anything too serious. I don't think anybody else should. I think that we should just dance. It's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and you got to get out and pursue it with dance. It's all.
I like that. I think that's a good take from Vanilla Ice. He's like, listen, I'm not here to be political. Listen, it's a celebration. It's a party, and so I'm gonna party and I'm gonna celebrate. Fair enough. You know what? Fair enough. I take it back. Keep him on the lineup. He had a good take. He earned it. Let's just do, a 45-minute set of Ice Ice Baby on repeat, just like the Founding Fathers intended. I don't care. It's fine. Now, beyond that, a lot of restoration is happening across the country, and I mean that quite literally. We have had a lot of monuments, a lot of beautiful places that have been neglected for 20, 30 years be restored, partly in honor of America's 250th anniversary. I think that is fantastic. That is one of the best possible ways to celebrate 250 years of American greatness, is restoring American greatness. I'll give you an example. If you're listening right now and not watching, this probably won't hit as hard for you, but that's just another reason to go follow me on X real quick at _ Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan. On Monday morning, all of this live broadcast will be re-uploaded with the video so you can see it right there. So follow me on X so you can see it there. This is the big fountain honoring Christopher Columbus outside of Union Station in Washington, D.C. Now, I have never been to Washington, D.C., so I wasn't really up to date on the situation here, but I saw this monument, this big fountain with these beautiful marble statues, and I thought it looked cool. Now, I am a sucker for a beautiful marble monument and statue, and this is exactly that. So this is a post from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. He said, look, Union Station just got an amazing makeover. The iconic Columbus Fountain is flowing again after years of neglect, thanks to the Interior Department and Secretary Burgum. And here at the U.S. Department of Transportation, we are giving a $465 million grant to revamp and modernize the station's interior. Taking a train to and from America's capital has never been better. Now, I don't know how many people are taking trains to and from the nation's capital. I know one guy who I know does it, but regardless, that's a historic place. It's a beautiful place, or at least it should be, and now it's being restored to its former glory. Here is a news report from this. Rapid Response 47 put this up on Twitter. I don't know who did it. Credit to whoever did it originally, but take a listen to this.
And take a look at this. Water is now flowing at the Columbus Circle Fountain near Washington, D.C.'s Union Station. The Department of the Interior celebrated the improvements this morning. That project was part of President Trump's Make D.C. Safe and Beautiful campaign. Before today, the Columbus Fountain hadn't been working since 2007. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum spoke about the significance of these renovations.
As we cut this ribbon, and this morning when this fountain roared back to life, we've restored a gateway to our capital, which stands as a reminder that the American story is still being written. And with your help, the best chapters are still ahead.
The project included upgrading aging infrastructure, updating the landscape, and improving pedestrian access. The administration says the efforts were completed on time and on budget.
Our nation's capital should be beautiful. Let me just come out openly on that one. That's my position. It should represent the very best of the United States. It should be the shining gem in the crown of America. And so the fact that for 20 years, one of the first things that I'm sure many people saw when they entered our nation's capital looked like absolute garbage, is something that absolutely should have been addressed long ago. How in the world did we allow that to happen? Just so you understand how bad of a condition this fountain was in, here's some pictures of it before the restoration. It's cracked, it's chipped, it's moldy, the paint's gone, there's no water, which I don't know how you get mold without water, but son of a gun, it pulled it off. It just looks terrible. It almost reminds me of the Alamo Cenotaph before the big restoration project that they just did recently on that. And credit to the General Land Office here in Texas for restoring the Alamo Cenotaph, because again, beautiful monuments should be beautiful. And then you look at it now, after the restoration efforts, water's flowing, it's polished, it's gorgeous, as it should be, as all of our nation's capital should be. So the fact that Donald Trump is actually taking the time to restore our nation to its former glory in the lead up to 250 years of American glory, I think is fantastic. And it is a solid reminder that decline is a choice. Donald Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," I think that resonates so much with people because you really can just do it, right? I mean, you can just make America great again. It sounds silly to say, but decline is a choice, and you can just choose to not decline. You can, barring some extraneous outside circumstance, which, as of right now, the United States really isn't facing. We can just choose to be a great and beautiful nation, and I believe we've been actively choosing not to. Now, maybe there's a political or philosophical reason behind that. Maybe you don't think America deserves beauty and greatness because of, some terrible thing you think we did in the past. I don't care. America is great. We deserve to be great, and we should look great. Our monuments should be gorgeous, and they should be massive, and they should be symbols of the blessings that we have been given by God. And we should look after them. We should steward them well. And if you disagree with me on that, I don't know what to tell you. Leave the country. Because I don't want to live in a nation with people who want the nation to be in decline. And I think deep down, most people don't want to be in a nation of decline either. I don't think most people actually enjoy that. They may self-flagellate because they think it makes them look good on the left, but nobody actually wants to be surrounded by ugly, neglected things all of the time. So that's my 2 cents on this. I think overall, America 250 will be awesome. We'll be right back with more. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to jump around a little bit in this segment, I think. I've got a couple of things that I want to cram in here. First and foremost, Maryland. The state of Maryland is something you're going to want to keep your eyes on for a little bit. There is a new law there and subsequently a lawsuit that I think is going to be very important for gun owners. So here's the article from CBS News. NRA lawsuit claims Maryland's ban on Glocks, quote, the most popular handgun in America, is unconstitutional. A Maryland law that will ban the manufacture, sale, and purchase of Glocks and Glock-style guns, many of the most popular handguns in America, is unconstitutional, according to a lawsuit filed by the National Rifle Association, Firearms Policy Coalition, and Second Amendment Foundation. The lawsuit targets Senate Bill 334, which Governor Westmore signed into law Tuesday. When the law goes into effect on January 1st, 2027, it will prohibit individuals from manufacturing, selling, buying, or receiving Glocks that can be converted into automatic weapons with an attachment. So, real quick, if you're not a gun nut, and I don't think I even necessarily fall into the gun nut category, but what this bill essentially does is not just target Glocks, but any gun that can be quote-unquote easily converted into a machine gun. And you've probably seen this on social media. You've probably seen videos or what have you about this. But there's a little attachment that's not fairly hard to come by that you can basically jam onto a Glock, and it affects the mechanism in such a way. I don't understand the science behind it, but it basically turns your Glock into a machine gun. It's called a Glock switch. There's a couple other terms for it, but you've seen these around. Those little Glocks that just go when you pull the trigger. So that's illegal, severely illegal. You're not allowed to do it. All right. But something about how Glocks are manufactured, I guess, makes it easier for those to be converted in that way. Now, here's the reality. Almost any gun, if you work at it, these are just pieces of machinery. This is simple mechanics. This is some of the simplest mechanics. A lot of people don't understand this either. The operating of a firearm is not overly complicated. Guns are fairly simple mechanics. And so you can toy with virtually any firearm and turn it into a machine gun. And most of the time, if you have just some basic tools and some basic knowledge, it's not overly difficult to do. So they're saying, oh, this is a ban on super dangerous guns that can be easily converted into these machine guns that are oh so terrible. And so we have to crack down on them. What they're actually doing is just trying to crack down and push as far as they can in on the Second Amendment. Make no mistake about what just happened. The state of Maryland just banned the most popular common everyday carry handgun in the country by far. You don't think that's going to stop there? Seriously? I mean, they're going to keep pushing if this holds up. So thankfully, it's already facing a lot of lawsuits. I don't think it will stand up to any legal challenge. At least I hope to God it won't, because it will set a very dangerous precedent if it does. I mean, this is frankly ridiculous that this even made it that far. And it will continue. But, I mean, beyond that, even if you give them the absolute benefit of the doubt, maybe they really are just trying to save lives by cracking down on dangerous machine gun Glocks. I don't believe they're doing that, but even if they are, there's no reason for them to do it because this is already a felony. Under federal law, possessing a Glock switch is a severe felony. It legally classifies the modified firearm as a machine gun. Federal penalties for possession and carry are up to 10 years in prison and court fines of up to $250,000. So these are already super illegal, which, for the record, they shouldn't be. Federal law bans the possession of a machine gun by a regular person, unless you go through like several very complicated steps with the ATF or what have you. It shouldn't. Those laws are unconstitutional on their face. The right to keep and bear arms is very clear, shall not be infringed. It's not the right to keep and bear most arms or some arms or arms that we think aren't too dangerous. The right to keep and bear arms, any arms, shall not be infringed. It's plain text. It's not hard to read. Anyone trying to tell you there's actually some gray area there is lying to you because it's right there. Shall not be infringed. Any arms. You can carry whatever the hell you want, so say the Founding Fathers. That's not legal advice, for the record. That is not legal advice. But anyway, it's just an example of the fact that the left will push against guns, and they will constantly find excuses. They're like, oh, these are used by gangs in gang violence, which, for the most part, it is. Anytime you see a video of a Glock switch on the internet, it's some thug that's just, like, showing off his illegal gun on social media because criminals are idiots and they do that. Regardless, these guns should be legal, even if you don't like them. The Constitution says they're allowed. And they're already not allowed, so any state trying to crack down on it further is just wasting their own time and probably hiding something from you. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about in this segment is Joe Biden. Completely off topic, not even slightly related at all. So sorry for the 360, don't get whiplash. We all remember the 2024 campaign. 2023 into 2024, it was obvious that Joe Biden was just not there. He just wasn't. The guy was just, something happened to him, all right? I don't know what it was. He really wasn't in great shape in 2020 when he ran then either. But the dude was in shambles. He couldn't string together a coherent thought. He had maybe 5 good minutes at a time, and after that, he was just blah, blah, blah. honestly, it looks a lot to me like dementia. I have people in my family who have had dementia. It resembled that very much. But we were all kind of wondering, well, why is he still going out there? Why is his wife, who is clearly still coherent, why is she allowing this? She should have her husband just retire and rest and be old in peace because he's clearly at the end of his rope. Well, now she's saying she didn't know what happens. I want you to think back to the 2024 presidential debate when I think Joe Biden really finally exposed the fact that he wasn't all there and kind of forced himself out of the race. Joe Biden was apparently super shocked by this. I was not, because we all saw Joe Biden for the months leading up to the debate, and he was in shambles. But Joe Biden never saw his poor performance coming. She did an interview with, I don't know who this is. I think it's CBS. But I want you to listen to her talk about how shocked she is and how concerned she was for her husband when that happened.
Were you horrified as you saw it unfold?
I wasn't horrified, I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that.
We all had for months.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
Before.
Now, the iconic line right out of that they didn't include, which is a tragedy, is Trump just looking at him for a second and going, I really don't know what he just said. I don't think he does either.
Or since. Never.
Or since.
Yes. Or
You've
since.
never seen him like
Never.
that.
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me to death.
Now, this would seem like a super sincere, oh, that's so sweet. She was so concerned for her husband. But they'll play you the clip right here. This is right after the debate. She trounces him back on stage and starts talking about what a great job he did. Check this out.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the... And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lie!
This was so weird. It was so weird at the time, but I just don't believe you, Jill. I don't believe you. We all saw your husband in shambles constantly. So we know you had seen your husband in shambles at least a handful of times. And I don't believe that someone that was that concerned that her husband had just had a stroke would have, once the debate was over, taken him not to a campaign, or not to a hospital, but to a campaign stop. If she really thought he had just had a stroke, she would have taken him to the hospital. Unless she's just an evil witch, which is a possibility as well. I mean, what are we doing here? Why are we still trying to pretend that Joe Biden's performance in that debate was something shocking, that something we shouldn't have seen coming? I knew that Joe Biden was going to get spanked in that debate going into it. And then when I watched it live, I was only surprised by how severely he was spanked. So really, I think the question that needs to be asked is, was Joe Biden involved in some sort of elder abuse? Because that's really what the entire 2024 campaign cycle with Joe Biden looks like to me. All right, we got a lot more coming up. One more segment. Stay tuned. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to ask you, if you've got a moment, go follow me on X, @Ethan Buchanan, BUCHANAN. That is the best way to stay in touch with me, to stay in touch with the show, get more content. If you enjoy the type of content that I have provided to you here, you can get more of it on X, @Ethan Buchanan, BUCHANAN. All right, let's close out the show by talking about some more good news. I guess kids are getting spanked again, which is fantastic. It's fantastic news. If you're like me, you more than once have looked at some headline or some video, or maybe you saw this in real life. You were sitting at some restaurant or in some public place, and there was a child or a collection of children that were just completely out of their minds. And chances are, at some point, you thought, good grief, what's wrong with this kid? Did they not get spanked enough as a child? Or clearly they didn't get spanked enough as a child, or some thought along that track. And if you're like me, chances are you also got spanked as a child. I think most people still in kind of the South, spanking never really went away to the extent that it did in other parts of the country. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know. But apparently it's making a comeback, which is great news. Here's the headline from Yahoo Life. Shocking number of millennial and Gen Z parents spank their kids, study says, necessary to raise a child properly. A recent study found that a large swath of Gen Z and millennial parents still use spanking as a form of punishment. Published in the Canadian Journal of Public Health last month, the research reveals that when this demographic of parents was asked whether they had ever spanked their child or children with their hand, about 20% said yes. Meanwhile, 45% of Gen Xers admitted to spanking their children. So obviously there's some work to do. We need to pump those numbers up. But kids are getting spanked again, which is great. I think most people understand at the end of the day that there's a certain degree of necessity there. And the evidence is all around us. As spanking has declined in society, as corporal punishment of children has kind of gone by the wayside, we've seen kids be just awful. Just awful. And listen, kids are fantastic. They're a blessing from God. They're great. However, it was Pastor Vodi Bakum, who, if you're not familiar with him, you should look into him. He referred to children as vipers in diapers. And I think that's a good example. We love children. They are a blessing from God. However, they're also just completely wild animals, which is true. And Scripture makes this clear, by the way, as well. I mean, this isn't a new thing that children are, frankly, animals and need to be brought in line. Proverbs 13:24, English Standard Version. Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. I mean, this is literally thousands of years of common human knowledge. You kind of got to spank your kids to get them to behave. And so now that's kind of gone by the wayside, and we've substituted the spanking of children with things like gentle parenting, quote unquote, or just you stick an iPad in front of your kid, and so it doesn't misbehave. It's pacified by the iPad. And now we've got iPad kids, and that's a whole nother can of biscuits. That's its own problem in and of itself. I think the biggest, clearest example of this is the teen takeovers that we talked about on the Wednesday show. I mean, these kids just have no respect for authority. They don't care about authority, the rule of law. I think it's probably one of the big reasons we've seen the crime rates go up so much over the last 20 years is because from a very young age, you have to instill children with a respect for authority and a knowledge that with that authority comes punishment and respect for that punishment as well. And if you don't do that, the kids are just going to be awful. And chances are they don't ever grow out of it. That's just the hard truth. We've seen that time and time and time and time again. So the fact that spanking is making a comeback, I think, is fantastic news long term. So, all right, beyond that, I just want to point that out. That I think is good news. If you have children, I think you should, and I'm not going to lecture you on how to raise your children, but I was spanked. I feel like I turned out okay. Most people I know who were spanked as children turned out okay, and I think we should bring that back. Obviously, there is a line that can be crossed where it turns into like all-out abuse of a child. That's never okay. That should be stopped. But the pendulum swung too far in the other direction. Now it's kind of swinging back, so that's good. All right, let's talk about James Tallarico for a minute before we close out the show. The Democrats are swearing up and down that just because this guy says he's Christian, that's what the Democrats needed here in Texas, and now he's going to win. He's going to swoop in because he's everything that Texans want. He's allegedly straight, and he's a Christian, and he's a white man. So obviously he's just going to appeal so broadly to Texans, and he's just not. And here's why. He has a very bad habit of referring to women as neighbors with a uterus. That's not going to play well. Check it out.
So most Americans, and I'm talking 90, 95%, do not believe that an embryo is a legal person.
He's talking about abortion.
Now, the embryo is biologically alive. That is certainly true. But being alive and being a person are two different things. And that's an important distinction to make in these conversations. So the reason I think you have a lot of pro-choice people who push back against the idea that abortion is immoral is because they believe that it is not. That in these situations, when there is an unwanted pregnancy, it is moral for a woman to be able to control her own body, or any one of our neighbors with a uterus to be able to control their own body.
Right there at the very end is what I want you to focus on. Any one of our neighbors with a uterus to control their own body. I mean, he says a lot of really stupid stuff in there. He kind of paints himself into a corner on abortion because, oh, these are humans, obviously, because it's a human embryo. And it is alive. He admitted that there. So it's an alive human, but it's not a person. That's his position on what an embryo is, presumably. And it's inside one of our neighbors with a uterus and la-di-da-di-da. Now, this wasn't just a one-off thing. This is his go-to terminology when talking about abortion. Here it is again. This is at his church, talking about, church in quotes, by the way, talking about abortion, and he does this again.
This summer, more than half our population became second-class citizens. Every one of our neighbors with a uterus became the property of the state. And nothing is more unchristian than that.
Nothing is more unchristian than our neighbors with a uterus becoming property of the state because they can't get in an abortion. This is the message. This is the quote-unquote Christianity that the Democrat Party thinks is going to be super popular across Texas. I'm sure it's popular in St. RuPaul the Queer Episcopal Church in Austin or wherever he goes to church, but that dog just ain't gonna hunt in most of the state of Texas. It just isn't. The state of Texas, by and large, is still fairly pretty Christian. I believe it's still a majority Christian, but the Muslims are doing their worst, so we'll see. But as of right now, it's still a majority Christian state. And it's not just, oh, I say I'm Christian. It's actual, I understand at least to a very surface level what the Bible says. And it's not all that garbage. And beyond that, neighbor with a uterus is just, that's not lingo that anyone uses in this state. Not even the liberals in this state use lingo like that. Where did you come up with that? Did you not focus group that at all? And before you say, oh, the Republicans are just pouncing on this goofy terminology, he's putting this stuff up himself. That last clip I played you was from his personal Twitter page. He's uploading this himself. This isn't just us grabbing things he's saying and ripping it out of context. He is pushing this message. This is how he's choosing to label himself. That's not going to play well in Texas. This guy is a creepy weirdo, and he's going to lose, and I predict by a lot, in November. Thank you very much for listening to the Next Gen Report. If you enjoyed what you heard, I want to encourage you to check out our sponsor, DeusVaultLapelPins.com. Use promo code NEXTPIN2026 for 10% off. In the meantime, go to my X page at _Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan, and follow me there.